republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, do you want to open your meeting?
Oh, okay. I thought you had a...
Yeah.
Sure.
Come on up.
Thank you.
Open your meeting.
Thank you. Right next to you.
Oh, yeah, John.
Chairs over here too.
There might be another chair in Tracy's. Need a chair in Tracy's.
So I'd like
I don't want my back to it.
So I'd like to open the planning board meeting, a continuation of the modification for a previously approved site plan submitted by Eric Sorensen, President Newbury Golf Center, Inc., for the Newbury Golf Center, 131, 133, and 151 Scotland Road, assessors map R43, lots 2, 11, and 4B. Just a note, our vote requires 3/5 of the planning board for approval for the site plan.
All right. I'd like to open the continuation of the public hearing in consideration of the application submitted by Eric Swartzen, President Newbury Golf Center, Inc., for modification of special permit for the Newbury Golf Center, 131, 133, 151 Scotland Road, map R43, lot 2, 11, and 4B. Note, required supermajority, 4/5 of the selectmen. Original special permit granted November 15, 2017. J.R. Colby has recused himself, and I will be acting as chair during these proceedings.
So I think I'd just like to set up some parameters for the meeting tonight. We'd ask Eric or his assistant or who's ever working with you to make a report about progress to date, including any scheduled new materials that you may have to bring forward, and then following the presentation, board members will ask questions of you and we'll go into some further discussion. Is that okay, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're just gonna start.
Okay.
Thank you. Up in front of you is the approved site plan. Quick story. I called a meeting roughly 2 weeks ago by myself. Eric was not at that meeting. At that meeting was John, Martha, Sam, and Joe, and Doug. And what I went over with those members was a problem that I had uncovered in the last few weeks. When we were out at the last site walk together as a group, people were asking me questions. I know you asked me several questions about grades, and it didn't feel right to me, the answers I was getting based upon the stakes that were out in the field. That we had staked out there as part of the areas that we were allowed to go in there and take material to work on the mitigation area over here. It didn't make sense. It was the first time I had laid eyes on them. And some other areas, largely out in the back here, when people were asking me what the finished grade, and I'm going, it didn't make sense. So the site's completely cleared. I asked Eric if I could go out there. I flew my super duper drone out there and resurveyed the entire piece. And what we found was basically where this stone wall is here, everything to the left of that stone wall, right on the money, to the inch. Everything from this wall over is off by 4 feet.
Which way? Up and down?
If we had gone ahead and graded it, we would have brought in 4 more feet of fill than we needed to.
Okay.
So, the good news is we caught it before we actually went out there and started grading, because it would have been a real mess had we started grading up there. I went over this with the group that I told you about, and some of the concerns that were raised at that meeting were, well, let me actually back up. We found out that the existing grades in this entire area were off by 4 feet. Existing and proposed. So what I did was, before that meeting, I took the
No,
grades.
existing because they're existing and proposed because you would have added to the existing?
Existing because my office made a mistake
Yep.
on this side, and proposed because the existings were
We
wrong.
would have added on it.
Right. So what I did was I dropped all the I have the new topo out there, and this is the old plan. So I created the new surface, existing contours for the entire site. Again, everything from the wall over matched perfectly, and everything on this side was dropped down 4 feet. Then I took the proposed contours on the right-hand side, and I just dropped the contours right in place that were already there, the proposed contours by 4 feet, and it worked out perfectly. You saw these plans, and they have seen them. This plan and this plan virtually look exactly the same. If you can see, you know, this funny here, it's the same thing there, it's just 4 feet lower. So what you're getting with this plan is exactly the same plan that you thought you were getting, with the exact same intent, and it's a really good thing you bought it, because halfway through construction, we would have been having to take all this material out. One of the concerns that Joe or John had was concerning drainage. Talking to Joe, we sent him over the pre and post drainage subcats that day, and I received a letter from Martha today saying Joe has concurred that this is just a
Joe is the planning board engineer?
a minor issue, that he agrees with the drainage, there is no issue, the pre and post all are the same. So I'm not done when I make this next statement, but one of the big things that we need to do tonight is get permission to continue to work out here. Right now, Eric's working in this area, which he was given permission, but has to hold up because of this issue until the boards had a chance to go over this issue tonight. When Eric gives his presentation on timing and schedule, you'll see that it's really important that we get going out here as soon as possible. The other issue that Martha raised on her memo that she sent me this afternoon was a concern on the existing roadway here, that there was enough turning radius to get a bus, fire truck, garbage truck up that hill. So I called Martha because I was confused, because you've seen this road, nothing's changed here. Nothing at all has changed. This is the approved permitted plan. And I'm not putting words in her mouth because she's sitting right here, but what she said was that people knew that, but that the boards did not ask Joe to review this when we originally submitted it. And that's probably true, because this happened at the very end pretty quick. So I told Martha I would see what I could do to show the board something tonight. Quite frankly, I didn't get to this till 3 o'clock this afternoon, so bear with me, I don't have a lot of information on it. Before I do that, these side grades here, you're on grade over here. This is a grade that's going up from the road, not down. This grade here, going up from the road, not down. These grades over here, going up from the road, not down. So none of the side slopes are going away. We have a 20-foot wide road, and basically 3 to 1 from the side of the road up. And the concern was there's no shoulder there, there are steep grades there. What will happen if you get two vehicles coming at each other, or can they even make those turns? I think it's good to know that none of the grades are down, so there's no safety issue there because the grades are up. All the grades are up, not down. So with the time that I had, and I'm going to approach if you don't mind, I took a bus, Nest Bus 36, conventional school bus, 65 passengers, 36 feet long, 8 feet wide, and I put auto turn. I can't see this very well, but I apologize. If you look closely, you can see the green as you get to the 25-foot road, the black is the center line, and the orange or red is the traveled surface that in auto turn that bus can make all the way up here. You'll see in this curve, and on this curve, and on this curve, the bus has to actually go over that center line by about 2 feet.
So
Personally,
if passing a normal car is not an issue.
it's not an issue. There's not going to be a ton of buses up there, a ton of fire trucks, or a ton of garbage trucks. So my belief is that you've got plenty of areas that if they see each other coming, they're gonna have to slow down, but there's, at most, you get about a 2-foot overrun here, here, and here on those 3 spots. Happy to leave that with you.
That's all we asked for anyway, right, John, was 25 feet? That was the original.
Mark, is that right? What's the width?
20.
It's shown
20. 20.
That's 20,
20.
and that's what we asked for originally?
Yes, this is what was approved.
That's what was approved.
And just to clarify, the change, there's a nominal ledge here, so originally the roadway, when it got moved, was a little bit more like
Right.
this.
It was an easier turn.
Right, and it was a field change that was requested to avoid this nominal ledge right
Rock
there.
right there.
This is the prior plan.
Yeah.
It's not. I take that back. I don't have a plan with me.
So can I ask a question? So, and I want to, just as a clarifying question, so I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that if a bus comes up here, school bus with the golf team, comes up in from the road here, and it can't make the turn, it has to come 2 feet over the center, to the other side, to the other side of the, coming up?
Correct. There's the center line, so that orange line would be the bus over the center line.
Okay. That's the only way you can fit. And
Here,
it's 1,
here,
2,
and here.
3 different places.
About 2 feet.
Just because of the length of the bus.
Right.
If the golf team's driving a 65-passenger bus, yeah, they'll be over the line about 2 feet.
And are these blind turn, you know, what's the angle of the turn? Are they?
There's no line turn because you're opening up a valley. Everything's going to be opened up
Okay.
like this.
Thank you.
So a couple of other things, and I'm not going to steal these guys' thunder, but Martha asked me if we were going to be bringing any changes to the boards. And I said this to you at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I said it last week, we're not proposing any changes. We're going to talk about some ideas and stuff, so when we go to come back in front of you, hopefully in the very near future with the landscaping plan, once the grading's done, we can have a more considerable conversation about landscaping. This plan, which is the new one that I'm talking about, the only change that we're talking about, just schematically, and I went over this at the meeting, is when we're out at the sidewalk, there's a ledge knob here, and there's a ledge knob here. So this revised grading plan that I left with the board at that meeting is just that. It shows a berm here between the 2 ledge knobs and suggests we're not taking the ledge down. On the top there and the top there, and this will become an earthen berm with some plantings on top that Neil can talk about schematically while he's here tonight. But more definitively, hopefully in a couple of weeks, when we're back in front of the board, when the site's graded, we can come back in and talk about landscaping in great detail, not just schematically. When we go out to grade this, our intention is to grade it exactly like this plan, with the exception of if there are ledge knobs in there that don't need to come out, we're going to leave them in. We won't know that till we get in there and start grading it out, because it's tough for the drone to differentiate between dirt and ledge. But our intention is to grade it just like this, but if there's ledge that we can leave in and not take out, we will not, we'll be coming back to the board and asking us to be allowed to keep that in.
Now, when we were on the site walk, there was ledge that, along that upper border, that you had mentioned you might want to be leaving. So it seems like that, you're already aware of some of the ledge up there. Is that identified on this plan as what is staying, besides the 2 knobs at the very end that you
Just
talked
there's
about?
nothing else in here.
Okay.
We're not at that point yet. We need to get to that point. When we can go out there and start grading this, we're going to find out where those proposed grades come as it relates to the existing ledge. And then we'll identify them on a plan and say, we're keeping this ledge. We're not going to knock this down. And quite frankly, they're out far enough in the fairway, it's actually going to be a nice feature. It shouldn't need to be taken down.
That's my hope, is that you can make them interesting and make it.
Yeah. And that's our hope too, so we can shorten the process down. Since that
One
meeting.
question before we
Sure.
really just leave this, and it's not, I'd just like to qualify it. Where Eric intends to at least be open in the winter, you're gonna have trouble keeping the snow back with a regular pickup truck, so you will be challenged to keep that small road open enough, so. you
Great
know,
point, a great point.
Because you don't have much shoulder.
Correct. So, I'm almost done. Before Eric gets up and Neil and talks about the schedule moving forward, which I know you're interested in, and I'm gonna steal some of this thunder, but I wanna make sure all this gets said. In the last 2 weeks, Eric has hired another crew. There's 4 or 5 pieces of equipment working out there, so he's added more people, more machinery. Right now, his concentration with the second crew has been to cut this roadway in. He's got it from the parking lot pretty much down to the 12-foot cut, right there where we have the deepest cut. The roadway's been cut in down to that point, so he's made great progress this week in getting that driveway. Part of the reason for that is that's where most of the fill material is that we can bring up to the rest of the site, so that's where I wanted him to start because he's got a fair amount of material in there. The point of all that is he has brought in a second crew. He has completed all the plantings in the wetlands, just inside the wetlands, not the buffer zone, within the wetlands. 50 something, 30 plants that were shown on the LEC plan. They're all done. They were done about 2 weeks ago, 10 days, 2 weeks ago. So I think there's progress being made. With that, I'm going to stop, let Eric talk about the schedule moving forward, and Neil is here to talk about anything you want to talk with Neil about.
I have one question. You said you brought in a second crew. Is that a 1 + 1 = 2, or additional crew, or
He's taking over
replacement
the
crew?
other guy's phasing
It's
out.
replacement, okay.
He's phasing out. And, it's a local guy, Phil Pelosi out of Middleton.
Mhm.
So he's come in with his crew. Just to update you, stumps are removed from the site. Rick talked about obviously cutting the driveway in almost entirely, we still have the front to do. We are hammering, making great progress on the getting the grades. That's why we postponed the site walk, because we don't have the grades yet. We are getting very close here, and we will use that as fill to fill the rest of the site. Going back to the planning, Neil did plan it a couple weeks ago. Talk a little bit about the ledge. I'm going to try to really leave as much as I can out there. Until we can really set these grades here and see, the biggest thing with golf is you want to see the golf ball land. So if there is a knob we can't see, we got to bring it down. But I'm hopeful that once we start to get stuff out here, that we can work around the ledge out there. Because the last thing we want to do is continue to hammer out there. But we do need to use this to get the holes filled in and get everything leveled off. I do have a schedule. Let me give you, okay. Let's see, give you one. So I have a schedule of events. This has been with the contractor, gone over with him. Obviously, it's subject to change if there's weather, but this kind of gives everybody up to speed, 12 weeks, where we're at with everything.
Eric, can I ask Martha and John, because Doug and others, Sam, I'm here, was everyone in agreement with what we've heard so far at the meeting? Doug, you and John and Martha, everything seemed to, I mean, with the change in grades, because now they're
Yes.
grown, it made sense.
Yeah, very right.
Yeah, it did, and our engineer Joe reviewed
Yeah,
it.
because it makes sense to you guys, and it's gonna make sense to us, so just needed to hear that.
Is there another copy of this?
Yeah, so that's not something even like, we don't try.
I think it's long.
It's with the water.
Can you
Yeah,
go?
but
No,
we're
it's
not
one.
gonna try anything. Let's see if I can pull that. Just a coordination.
So we didn't put the trees on the schedule, obviously we're gonna have that in there, the 4th or 5th week, put the plantings of the trees. That obviously, with the seeding, that will go at the same time, or right before the seeding. So that's kind of where we're at, I mean, every day.
So when is your landscape, when are you planning on putting your landscape, where's that gonna be?
Neil's gonna,
Well, we're waiting on approval.
yeah, we just want to.
We haven't got approved to plant any trees yet.
Right, so
We
where is it, would you expect to? put it?
Around
If we
September
got-
3rd.
Yeah, if we got
Around
approval,
We need approval, and then I
we
have to,
need approval.
try to see what's the availability,
Yeah.
because some of these trees, you can't dig in the summer, so
Right.
it's above ground, and,
So we're looking between week 4 and week 5.
yeah,
We're
there's
hoping,
some
Yeah.
we're hoping,
semantics involved.
with best case scenario.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I could clarify that, because there's two pieces to that. One, you have a landscaping plan presently in front of you that you could approve tonight, if you want. therefore you could hold off. The second one is the revised landscaping to deal with some of the issues along the property line and out at Mrs. Hanlon's property line that the boards agreed to not finalize until we had the site graded. So once we grade that whole site out, and we have the site walk and we approve the landscaping. So there's two issues. The original landscaping plan that's already properly before you, and then a revised one to deal with some of the gaps.
Can I ask a quick question? The revised plan will be a supplement.
Yes.
So there's nothing on the primary plan that's going to change, it's just what you're gonna add to supplement.
Correct.
So it might be beneficial if you could approve the primary plan, because trees can be ordered now. And so we can start that process, and even though we're gonna have to, once the site is graded, and we go out with the carbones, and we go and we look at the back near the Hamlins, we'll have to order additional trees, and that's what's in the revised plan. But would you say 90% of the trees are in the original plan?
Yes, we'll have, well, yeah, the replacement trees, the ones that were cut, but the ones, we can just install those ASAP if we
Okay.
got approval.
So I need some clarification. You say that the landscape plan for everything but addressing the carbones and the Hanlons and maybe the woman driving up, we have that and it's been approved?
No, we
nothing's
have
been
it, but it has not been approved.
And you're not suggesting any changes to that, you're just asking us to approve it?
Correct. And the second plan, which we call the revised landscape plan, is doing nothing but adding more
Got that.
trees, not moving anything. So you really could approve the original one,
Okay.
and then,
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Martha, do you have that
It was in the original
in the original?
package.
But we just haven't looked at it lately because of all these other concerns that we've had, right?
That plan was presented to you by
Problem, what, the,
public.
Yeah, that was-
2 or 3 months ago?
Right, correct.
And all we're doing is we surveyed the site of all the existing plant material, and we're just augmenting, rather black. All of the plants are indigenous and will be sourced in New England and grown in New England.
So to what extent does the plan that you submitted 2 or 3 months ago change based on what you just planted 30 trees in the wetland? Are there other trees that need to be planted?
Yes,
And where would we see the plan for those?
So
that was submitted.
you have 30 or so plants planted in these two wetlands. You have another,
That's okay.
you have another 85 or so that are planted in the buffer zone, largely around this edge.
And Rick, they've been planted already?
They have not been planted because you technically haven't given us,
Right.
lifted the cease and desist for him to plant. Once that's lifted, he can order those plants. He ordered them before the cease and desist to get delivered to the site and be endangered.
And the plan to plant those 85 is in the document that you submitted 2 or 3 months ago? In the
Yes.
buffer zone?
It is.
Can you show us that?
You have it, I did not bring that plan tonight.
I mean, it's gonna be a little
I don't
hard
think I
for
have a
us.
copy. All I have is a rough. I
you know what, I might
have the
just-
plant list,
I mean,
I have
not
the
making
LEC
it, not trying to
report.
make it hard, but you're asking
Yeah.
a lot of things,
You know what it was, Mike?
and you're asking us to produce those thoughts, and you're the guys that want those thoughts.
So I have a question, the 85 trees that you're talking about, why do you have to plant those now? Because of
We
the.
don't have to do it now, but it's the.
No, but why do you want to do that now? Is it because of what was clear cut?
Yes.
My mistake?
It's not planning them now, it's ordering them now.
Yeah.
And if the plan isn't, until the plan is approved, you don't place the order for the trees, because you might be buying trees you don't need, and you don't want to get the trees delivered to the site, because you don't want them there withering away.
Yeah.
So,
but
so we need lead time to place that order, and if the goal is to plant them on September 4th, 5th, 6th, then we're at that kind of 3+ week point where we ought to start ordering them.
So my question is, was this plan for these 85 trees, is that, and I'm confused at the timeline, is that from the first
Yes.
original?
Yes.
But I don't, but we have a landscape plan, but we had a plan, and,
No, you keep
Yeah.
it down there right there.
All right.
Just hold on.
so we
Good
had a
job.
plan, that that was approved. Then the clear cutting happened,
Right.
and then we had a mitigation plan.
Yes,
Right.
this
This
is,
is-
Where I'm
yeah,
confused.
this is,
Mitigation.
it's the April 30th plan, which is the mitigation plan,
Okay,
which is
so-
we came back after the clear cutting,
Yeah,
that's it.
okay, so this shouldn't, these trees shouldn't be on the original plan.
They're not on the original, they're on the.
No, they're on the original
Okay.
mitigation
So
plan.
are you asking,
There you
maybe I heard you wrong, it's probably
Yeah.
me. Were you asking us to approve the original landscape plan
No,
just
the
now,
miti-
or the
mitigation.
mitigation
Sorry.
plan?
So,
Mitigation
all right,
plan.
so you have we submitted but we haven't done, okay.
Start again, because
Yes.
Alicia's right, that was my question.
You approved an original
You got
plan.
two plans going.
We approved the original plan. After the clear cutting was done, we came up with a mitigation plan.
Right,
This is what you have. Would be the baseline for mitigation, subject to adding additional trees for carbonates and hamlets.
okay,
We haven't done the supplement to this yet, because we want to get the grades correct.
right, and
But
then
we
the
would
site.
like to order these trees
Okay,
now.
so this here, these 85 trees that you're talking about, they're gonna go in here, correct? All in here? In the wetlands, right?
I
No,
know,
this-
buffer,
No, this
is,
area.
Buffer
In the
zone.
buffer zone?
This area, that area, and that area.
right,
Which is good, it's good
not,
clarification.
not in the wetlands.
Okay, not in
The
here.
wetland trees.
You already did that.
have to be-
Well, there will be some, like red maple, swamp maple, and what have you, if you look, in the wetland area, like outside this area. So the shrubs just got interplanted within the wetland. We approved it, done. But there are other pieces of plant material that we're doing, so. They're just all native species, nothing is crazy. Everything was surveyed.
So essentially, you're saying we're gonna be dealing with 3 planting plans. We have the original, we have
The
this one.
pre-clear cut,
pre-
post-clear cut, and
then
a butter
whatever happens
mitigation,
with the
correct.
supplement.
So what you don't have right now is a plan for the berm, and what
Right.
you don't have right now is the plan from the edge of that shed up to where they found the cedar, or the cherry or the cedar.
Because we're waiting for the grading to go take
To
a
go
look, right?
do these two last fingers.
Right,
So what we're asking is to do everything but the 2 fingers, because we haven't shown you the 2 fingers on the plan. But we want to order these so that we have them there the first week in September.
Do you sense confusion?
Yeah, no, and hopefully I'm
trying
making
to
it
clarify
clearer.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is this
okay,
the
do you
plan
wanna see this?
dated April 30th?
So
April
I
30th
understand,
plan,
okay,
correct.
we've
Yeah,
got-
here's-
So there are 3.
Yeah, there's
By
gonna
the time
be
we
3.
get through with everything,
Yeah.
there's gonna be 3 planting plans to complete
But I
the
mean-
project.
Maybe 4.
So
Yes.
what they're asking us is not really to approve a plan, but to be, which plan are you asking us to approve? And does any of the approval of this one plan have anything to do or condition the next plan being approved? And
No.
you want to get the trees ordered, basically,
We want approval of the April 30th plan,
which is the April 30th plan.
this one.
This
For
one.
mitigation.
And the mitigation plan, which is the April 30th plan, and the April 30th plan would not in any way impact the Hanlon Carboni plan, which will be 2 additional fingers of planting, based upon our last site
And
walk.
what about this about her here? She's not here tonight, I don't think, but is she all set with her?
I believe so, but she will be at the site walk as well, we will make
Okay.
sure.
Who is
The
she?
Jenny,
Who is
she?
Jenny.
It's Cunningham?
Yes.
Now,
And we said at the hearing if there's anything else we need to do
One
for
thing,
her.
Yeah,
back
you
to
were
what Alicia said. So you're talking about the mitigation plan, and there is a subsequent plan that'll take care of the neighbors. Now, does the mitigation plan include the original plan?
No,
No,
Good, so there are 3 separate plans.
3 separate
Yes.
plans.
So we're only gonna basically maybe approve one.
Correct.
Well, the original
So how are you
plan
gonna
is
get-
approved, the original plan we don't need additional approval on.
We just need
And
to
that's
go
kind
ahead.
of the landscape plantings, that's the plantings around the parking lot, the plantings around the drive. That has never changed, that is staying the
And
same.
that's part of the whole plan.
And that's part of the big plan.
When you get the
It's already-
thing built out,
Correct.
probably the last thing you're gonna
That's
do.
good.
Well, just to clarify further, do we need, because there was a mistake in the grading, do we need to approve the grading plan as corrected?
I
think
went
so.
over this issue with
Don't you
Martha
think so?
and John, and they
Yeah, I think
believe
so.
that you
Okay.
should approve that.
The grading plan, so tonight,
Make a note.
try to see if we can get to the point where we're approving a grading plan and approving the mitigation plan for the plantings.
The April 30th mitigation. Yes.
And
What's the date on the new grading plan that you're asking to be approved tonight, so we can identify it positively when we get to that point?
It's right there.
And was there, I'm assuming it's not tonight's date, because you prepared this about a week ago.
So, once you do your grading, right? Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So once you do your grading, you expect the grading to be complete by September 17th.
The final grades.
So there might be some final grading later, but we
don't
don't want to start practicing shooting, so we would contemplate maybe doing the site walk between the 27th and the 3rd to do the Hanlon and Carboni line.
Okay, so,
Continue to try to get it.
We're not related.
excuse me, Rick, can I ask you a question?
Certainly not.
It says continue to get grades. What does that mean?
The contractor put that in there, just to finalize, get them, just final. If there's
To
tweaks.
continue to work on the grades?
No, there's a little bit, he just put that in there,
I just don't know what it means.
yeah, he just said, continue to get grades, that's all.
It's sort of slang.
Yeah, it's
Tidy things up and make
That's
sure
right.
everything's accurate.
any kind of
Things are
last
pitched.
minute grades.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is what is the work that's being done there in addition to start seeding? It's
I mean, he's doing,
continue grading,
he's continue getting his grades and doing his drainage.
I think get is just,
just continue to
Yeah, he
grade.
paid that to me.
All right.
Well, I mean, if you're still
How do you have
grading
to set?
that
Yeah.
upper part, Eric,
I'm sorry?
if you're still grading the upper part, you also have the part over towards the road, right? That all has to be cleaned up and all,
Yeah,
so
Down
that's
in
all
here?
got to be done. Yep.
so do we want to?
where are you at currently with the grading of the parking lot and the two building sites?
Nothing.
Okay.
Neil, when do the
Okay.
hot top plants close?
What, you mean the nurseries?
No,
hot
they-
top pavement plants.
Generally around November 15th, plus
They
or
go that
minus,
long now?
depending on the weather.
Yep.
It's
They never used to.
32 degrees and rising. If they don't have that, they're not paving.
Pause here and discuss this amongst the board and then let him continue.
I would rather let him finish his presentation.
Yeah.
And then
Discuss.
come back.
Yes, okay.
Eric, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
On week 8, you indicate trenches for National Grid. Are those going to be open trenches until National Grid gets in there? or-
No, he'll work with National Grid on their schedule. I mean, you're right there, Mercy.
Right, that's
Approved,
right.
the plan's approved, National Grid has,
Got that right.
Right,
it's in there, they gave us their design, it's just, it's a waiting game.
right.
We gotta finish the driveway obviously, and then it's,
Why don't you continue anything else you wanted to present?
I think that's it. I
It
think
is?
we discussed,
Okay.
yeah, so if you have any questions.
Well, I think what we'd like to do is open up for, there's been a lot of questions asked by board members, but are there any other members that want to ask some questions at this point in time? Of course, our next step would be to ask comments from the community.
Yeah.
Nobody else? Everybody?
I do have a question about the road. The fire chief has not signed off on that, right, Martha? Hasn't even seen it. Should we show it to the chief?
He has not.
Should we show it to the chief and have him write us a letter?
I think so.
I think so.
And the other reality is the athletic teams are transported by buses.
Right, and that's why the comment was to look at a bus. And that's one of the bigger things, right, well, that's good.
How long is the longest fire trip, do you remember?
Probably the same as a bus.
No, it depends. You could be correct. I mean, there's no room for shoulders there on the bad turns, correct? I mean, there's no shoulders up any of the road, right? And you're only gonna pay 20 feet. And that was in the original proposal, so.
So, I have a question before we open it up to of you guys. Do you guys, is there water on site there now?
Yeah.
And do you have a generator on site too? Do you
Yeah.
have power?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have water and you have power.
Yeah, we got plant hose and water trucks
Okay, good.
Good.
And
and we're
So-
washing tires and going out of the site or muddy, lot.
Thank you.
I mean,
So actually, this is kind of a question for the board,
Mhm.
boards, plural. I'm concerned about, I mean, my gut instinct tells me that we can kind of get these 30 plants, get them going on this, because it has to be done, these are plants.
They've done
They're
30.
done, those are done.
Oh, well,
It's the
these
85.
The 85, the additional 85, the additional plantings that they want to do to mitigate the, in the,
Yep.
I mean, I'm kind of leaning toward, we should let them, give them the green light on that now, this is just what I'm thinking, I'm kind of talking out loud.
And the reason is because they have to audit.
Right, and I want to get them in the ground, and I want to get this project moving. But I have a concern about where there's buffer zone trees that are no longer here. I have a concern about lighting, and what the lighting is gonna now look like from these abutting properties, and what we can do, if anything, about mitigating that.
Right.
So,
Well, that
We-
is,
I said,
We have had that as a concern since we started the project.
mhm.
Remember, Martha and I went down to Leo J. Martin just
Right.
to see what was going on down there and the way the lighting was done. We still have the problem, and I think that where we were was that we were gonna do a walk with you when the site was ready to be walked, to take a look at, well, what would they look like?
Okay,
And there was another question about, well, what do they look, it's not just what they look like when they're lighted, but when they're not lighted, and should they be painted a flat black so they recede into the landscape?
mhm.
So those are things that we've talked about and we've had good conversations about, but we've not resolved them.
Okay.
yes, the plan that we had made was that once the site was graded, they would put up some markers with the heights.
Balloons.
Balloons at the heights of the poles and the heights of the buildings, so that we could see them from the other sites to determine their visual impact and plan the mitigation.
Okay, so my concern with approving any landscape plan besides these 85 trees that have to go in is that we don't know what that's gonna look like yet.
Right.
So I'm hesitant to approve anything until I get an idea of what that's gonna look like. That's just the way I feel.
Once again, Alicia, though, if we're talking about this part of it,
Just these 85 trees.
and what else are you didactically asking us tonight?
No. If I could,
The 4 feet
let me,
and that plan.
4 feet in that plan, that's all we're asking.
And then
That's it.
stop
That's
again
okay.
until you come to the
Okay.
sidewalk.
Alicia, I thought that's okay.
And the walk.
And we've got some
I think you're
other
okay.
things.
So let me try to draw the line between all those dots. For lighting concerns, we had the Hamlin property, had the Carboni property, and we had the Cunningham property. That's it. We didn't have concerns on anyone else. No trees were taken down on the Hamlin side that were not supposed to be taken down. None.
Okay.
Not a one.
Now, can we pause it for a minute?
Sure.
When you said they had the 4 foot, there was a 4 issue, it was 4 feet?
Yep.
Is that gonna be 4 foot, and please say yes, going down this way? So it's not gonna be higher 4 feet, it's gonna be lower 4 feet, right?
Lower.
So that actual
Everything on the
topography is
original,
gonna be lower.
everything on the original plan, including the profiles that I showed you from her house, was off by 4 feet.
So it's gonna be down 4 feet. So
So-
that will actually, because I can remember from being in her driveway, I was told then that she probably won't see anything because it's gonna go down and be natural topography.
So-
That's still gonna be 4 feet less, right?
Correct. So what we're going to show you, and we're not talking about it tonight, is in addition, because we didn't cut down any trees over here that were not supposed to be cut down, so nothing's changing here, is Neil will, when we come in with the next revised plan,
Mhm.
propose some plantings on this berm that we're adding in there now. It will be an enhancement above and beyond what you originally thought. This we're in discussions on tonight, later on tonight with the Carbonis, 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. This will get worked out with everybody, to everyone's satisfaction. And the only thing that's left that was just brought up is views over to the Cunningham, which we can take care of on the site walk.
Mhm.
But I will just wrap it up, and this isn't me putting pressure. To meet that schedule and get these trees in the ground in the growing season, we gotta order them now. We can't wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It won't work. We gotta get those 80 plants, 80 trees ordered and in the ground as soon as possible, and not wait for the next meeting, because at that point it's gonna be too late. Unfortunately, that's not your fault, it's our fault, I apologize for it, but
It is what it is.
it is what it is.
I got just a general question. What do you consider to be the latest time you can plant a tree in school?
Well, you can plant rather late, but it's availability. So for instance, if maple trees, it's not above ground, they're a fall hazard to dig, so a lot of times they're not gonna dig them in the fall. So they need to be above ground and readily available, so I'm using mulch in some place. And the only two vendors we cited we're gonna purchase from, or they grow native plants, is Pearson Nursery in Maine, or Bigelow Nursery down in Northborough, Mass. Because we wanna make sure they're zone hardy and they're adhering to their indigenous, as what was taken down is pretty much good. These aren't specimen landscape trees, these are native grown trees that are hardy to the zone, and that's what we want. So, to answer your question, you can plant virtually whenever, as long as it's watered and it freezes, and however, it's the availability.
You gotta dig them up by a certain time in order.
They should be above ground by now. If I called someone in October, say, hey, can you take me some swamp, I used to root them, they're gonna laugh at me and say, which is your first day at work, so it's just like, so we gotta be careful.
Damon?
Yeah, on week 5, you have start shaping drainage ponds. Are you talking about the catch basins and things? Because I thought the pond got taken out of the plan.
That's what he calls
A catch basin?
catch basin.
Okay.
That's his slang. Okay, sorry. I should have cleaned it up, but this is his, that's what he calls, they call them ponds.
Just to bring back my clearer thoughts, the area that is spot on, which is the lower part, is that?
This
No,
stone
yeah,
wall, everything over here.
That's spot on there,
Spot
and,
on.
but I mean, basically, those two areas, the areas you discussed, one that was 4 feet off and you're gonna leave the same now, are they pretty much on a site level if you looked at them? Or does one drop away from the other?
So the tee boxes are at 78, and that 78 contour runs all the way to the back.
Well, so, we should have picked it up standing there ourselves, that's, just.
I was thinking about it while we were out there, but I was like, not the time to bring it up, and I apologize for that, 17 days, but.
All right, good, that makes it clearer to anyone that might have a concern.
Any other board members? Folks? Want to comment?
We're very confused.
Any comments?
I have one question.
Mike, yeah.
What are the construction hours right now? I don't necessarily,
But give your name, please. and
Sorry.
address.
Michael Carboni, 121 Scotland Road. Just curious what the construction hours are right now. I'm not really concerned what they are, but I get phone calls every day from neighbors, people driving down the road.
Yeah.
Are they starting too early over there? Is it too, are they on time, whatever? So I just don't know what to tell people that call and ask.
Martha, what are the hours that were approved?
I believe they've gone back to the original ones of 8 to 5,
Okay,
Monday through Friday.
okay, thank you.
No Saturday.
Just one more clarification. So, Jessica Farberoni, 121 Scotland Road. So when you say 8 to 5, does that mean no activity should be happening on the site until 8 o'clock, or they're able to get, I'm just, again, because people are
noise.
kind of looking out for us. if
No
you will.
noise.
No noise.
Okay, so I'm
Thank you.
Deborah. 1, 2, 3. I got a phone call this morning. Had no concern for us, but people are calling us. We heard, they heard a terrific bang this morning at 7:20, and we got a phone call saying, hey, you're not supposed to start till 8 o'clock. So I don't know what the noise was. I don't know. And all I could say to them was, as far as we know, it's 8 o'clock. I don't know what the noise was, but they did hear it from the construction site. So I'm just repeating what neighbors have been calling me, Scotland Heights, other people in Scotland Road, so.
Are you the job super?
I know.
You're doing a fabulous job.
Thank you very much. I do want to make one other comment about, the trees and whatnot. I did speak to Eric this week, and I just would like it known also that we really want a fence along our property, because now with the driveway, granted it is away from us, but the way the turn is going to be and the parking, the lights and whatnot will head towards our property. And he was agreeable. I will just wanted noted in the records that he was agreeable along the border, and we just have to make a decision as to how high. We talked to my husband, he says 100 feet, but, you know, we will have to come to some
There's
kind of.
zoning regulations.
Yes, but, that was just a joke.
And
But
I have
I
a-
just wanted that noted.
I have a question for you, Deb.
Yeah.
Is the dustbin okay?
We did have a little bit last week, Jess, I think
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was.
it's
But
been,
yeah,
it's
okay.
been better than it
Yeah.
was, you know, there's still stuff getting onto the roadway itself, but, you know, it's better.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way for me to say it. Is it exactly where we want it? No, not necessarily,
Well,
but,
there's still dirt there, but we're gonna get this thing moving along.
yeah, most definitely.
Now, I had kind of forgotten that the accelerated hours had been changed. They were changed later when we did the second part of this.
They went back to the original on July 11th, as of
Yes.
July 11th.
Okay. And
That's what I was
that's what
confused.
everyone wants, even though it's gonna take longer, right?
Yes,
I mean,
Okay.
well,
yes,
Well, I mean, think about what you're saying. I mean, is that what
I know,
everyone
but
wants?
yes.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Would it matter if it were an hour at the end of the day and not in the morning,
No,
so it's
8 to
not wetting
5.
people?
8 to 5.
Okay, I'm just asking.
5.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the kick to that was the fact that after the hours had changed, they started hammering at 7 o'clock in the morning. If it had been normal getting stuff going and everything else, I don't even know that we would have called at 7 o'clock to have that stuff taken care of, but hammering at 7 o'clock in the morning, right along the property line, because that's where most of the work is happening right now, was a little jarring, if you will. Especially when the bedrooms are on the back side of the house, facing that way.
Yeah, so you can have no noise.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, anyone else? You have comments? Just, anybody else, anything else, Deb?
I don't
Okay,
think
I'm
so,
gonna read
you know.
into the rec, do you wanna say something?
Just one last thing. Town council has pointed out, and I think it's important before you potentially make a motion, that plan, the one we're talking about, the grading, does not have a revision date on it. It's current. The dates on, I just looked at this again, all those dates are correct. It doesn't have the latest revision date. This goes back to 17. So if you're gonna refer to a plan in your decision tonight, it needs to refer to the June 7, 2017 plan as revised on a specific date, and I will get those plans up to Martha as soon as this week. We just gotta add a revision date to it, otherwise it's gonna be confusing, because the latest revision date on this plan is back in 2017.
Mr. Vice Chair or Chair for the, I think you want to ask town council if he sees any other things we should be looking at. Seriously,
Yeah.
ask for his audience.
There's more to come.
Okay.
So we should wait till we get towards where we're gonna vote. All right.
I think
I'm
there's-
gonna read in Joe Sawaka's letter, and then do we have to hand out to the board members the conditions that have been drawn up?
That's in your
it's-
packets.
It's in your packets.
Yep.
Okay, so let me read this letter. Martha Taylor, town planner, regarding 131, 133, 151 Scotland Road revised plan review. Dear Ms. Taylor, I received the following. A copy of sheet 4 of 10 overall site construction plan revised to 12/27/17, a copy of sheet 1 of 1 overall site construction plan dated July 25th, 2018, and a second copy of sheet 1 of 1, which appears to be a merging of the two plans. I have met with the engineer and town staff relative to the grading changes proposed, reviewed the submitted plans, and offer the following comments. Number 1, the grading has been revised on the western portion of the site due to an elevation error of approximately 4 feet. This is the issue that Rick brought to our attention. On the 12/27/17 plans. Basically, the entire western portion of the site drops by 4 feet, with the grading on the eastern portion of the site remaining unchanged. For instance, on the 12/27/17 plans, the tees were at elevation 76, hitting to target greens at elevations between 76 and 82. The revised July 25th, 2018 plan has tees at elevation 76, hitting to target greens at elevations between 74 and 78, so we're substantially lower by 4 feet. The revised grading elevation on the western portion of the site have been blended into the unchanged elevations on the eastern portion of the site. This would not appear to change drainage flow paths based on the grading. Number 2, I reviewed the change that has been made to the driveway layout previously to avoid the knob of ledge at about PCB 5-6. The original design, that's what we looked at before. The original design had a centerline roadway radius of about 150 feet through this area, but the revised layout has a radius of only about 60 feet. This tighter radius, combined with a 10% roadway grade, 3-to-1 slope side, and no shoulders, could be a concern for school buses, emergency vehicles, and refuse trucks sharing the 20-foot pavement with passenger vehicles. The board may want the engineer to address the issue raised by the revised roadway layout. Should you have any other concerns, letter, please contact me. Sincerely, Joseph J. Zerwatka, professional engineer. So what Rick has presented to us early on, which is the plan in front of us, is their initial response to what Joe's concerns were here. And we had a subsequent discussion about it, and I think, I don't know, I remember it being said, well, looks like we can live with it. I don't know. What do you think?
Are you referring to the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it were a playing field, I would not be comfortable with it, but as a driving range, seem much less traffic.
Of that type.
Of that type. I myself am comfortable with it. Write a letter to the fire chief to ensure that he's comfortable.
Well, I think it's completely, it's what George had recommended, except we haven't heard from the fire chief yet, so we do have this.
Yeah, so I think we should, with the grading plan, condition it that the fire chief is given approval. I don't know how anyone else on my board feels about that.
No, well said.
Yeah?
And if you can go back to that letter for a second, John.
Yep.
I think it had a revised date on it for the grading plan, maybe July 25th.
2018.
It has,
Yeah, July 25th.
July 25th, 2018.
Rick? Is that,
Yeah, it's fine.
The date
It's
that
fine,
we
the one I
should
have
use.
tonight, so,
but
So
If
that's
we-
the one that was left with you.
Right, that's what I had.
That's-
we have it in front of us. So is that the one that we should reference?
Yes,
Okay.
it's the same as that, just, I brought the plan without the correct date on it, it's the exact same plan as that.
So that is the offer date.
And if you need more copies of that, let me know and I'll.
I just want to make sure in anything I do, I have the right date. and
That's
right
why I
place.
brought it up, because it was starting to confuse me, and I thank town council for picking that up, but that's the way, one that I left it.
So I think at this point, we want to discuss some of the meetings coming up, possible schedule of a sidewalk, or you want to
So
go?
I'm wondering, I was looking at that, and I'm wondering if we should go through the conditions at first, and then we can talk about, does that fit with you?
It does, I mean, of course, it's up to the boards. They dovetail a little bit, because in order to know which dates you want to discuss for the conditions, you sort of need to know what the board's going to meet then.
Well, I think we've got one date that's the 11th, isn't it?
The
29th.
29th. The 11th was the other.
Yeah.
No, that's all those are our only options, but I think we should go through the conditions.
I think if substantively you get the conditions to a place that you like,
Yeah, then
you can plug in the meeting
then
dates,
we-
you know, when you get there.
Okay.
So, what we're gonna be doing now is going over some conditions that town council has drawn up for us.
Now, do you all have this? Everybody got it?
Part of everyone's packet.
And so the way we're gonna do this is, this is kind of like a board deliberation. And then afterwards, we can accept comments, but we'll deliberate first on this.
Would you happen to have one extra copy?
Here, I go.
Thank you.
And so I think the way we determine we will do this is Damon, you start, and I'll do the second one. We'll just do, but they're all the same for both boards. So Selectmen will go first, and I'll go second. I thought I did too, but I just decided.
Okay.
You tired?
I don't have the date in mind.
Oh, I'll go for it. All right, number one, and this is for everyone to, I'm going to read them, and we want all the boards board members' comments about these so that we can agree on them. We won't vote on each one, but we'll just agree or disagree on these as they've been put forward, okay? Subject to the below conditions, the May 2018 mitigation plan is provisionally and conditionally approved only insofar as the applicant may undertake site grading and soil stabilization and may pull and grind stumps outside of wetland resources and buffer zones in strict compliance with that May 2018 mitigation plan. April 30th?
This thing here,
I think it was April 30th.
right here.
The April 30th plan,
I haven't even started talking, scribbled mine.
okay? So I would invite all members to comment on this to the extent that you would like to.
So the stumps are gone, right, aren't they?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
making the same comment.
They're all gone.
So the stumps are gone. You don't have any more grinding to do, like into the ground, stumps?
Gone.
Okay. And may pull and grind stumps outside of the wetland resource area and buffer zone. I don't know, should we strike that? He's not gonna do it? He's already done it?
I don't think
Well,
there's any reason to take it out. I think what this would allow is the planting of the trees, because it's approving of this plan. We don't need to take anything out that says you can't do things that they aren't gonna do anyway.
Well, just in case something happens and they have to do it.
They
They
shouldn't
weren't
have
allowed
to.
to do it when the board voted the first time, so this language is actually consistent with the prohibition that's been in place. So
Okay,
if they have to go back, then they're gonna need more than just this board's approval.
Okay.
There's gonna be more work in there.
okay.
So this is trying to, continue on that baseline. Let me just throw one comment out though. We're referring specifically to the 4/30/18 mitigation plan, but we'll also at some point need to address the grading plan, which we didn't have.
This grading plan.
This grading plan, which I've written down as the 6/7/17 grading plan as revised most recently on 7/25/18.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
So what number one is really approving are both of those plans for this limited purpose that's in there.
If we wanted to
That
site
language,
grading,
that language
Soil
in one of the,
stabilization, pull and grind stumps, and actually we should probably
Add
talk about
something.
the plantings as well. 'Cause
Right.
that's missing.
Brian, what also,
But are you
what about
limiting
the,
the grading just to the area described here, or are you allowing the grading to go beyond what is here?
Yeah, I would,
Mitigation plan,
No, only the mitigation plan, only,
I don't think that's good enough.
I think we need another condition about the,
we need the 85 trees.
yeah.
That's it, that is,
That's in
which is the, it's,
That's in the mitigation.
Trees are in the mitigation plan,
But it didn't, this
it doesn't,
amendment,
Allow
or this
planting.
condition didn't allow the planting, it allowed
that's right.
site grading, soil stabilization, and pulling and grinding.
So you need to add that.
yeah.
But there
So
were
the two things that they presented that they want
your
here,
comment, your
But
comment
there
was
was
that
planting on
this
the
goes too
mitigation
far.
plan.
Right, but
No,
that-
not far enough.
Not far enough,
But
got it.
that wasn't approved at the time, and there were questions about the plantings. One was the size of the plantings, the caliper of what was being proposed, the other was the spacing of the plantings.
Mhm.
Because that was proposed at 20 feet, there was some discussion about planting them at 15 feet.
Was that in the buffer, or was that the one to address the carbonis and
That was
the hamlets?
that was what was shown on this April 30th plan.
Mitigation.
On the mitigation
On the
plan.
mitigation plan. So those were the two questions. Tim came back with a question about whether the
Tim,
caliper should
our
be
Tim.
larger. Tim Lamprey, and made the case that the smaller ones would actually take better and grow faster. But there was never any final discussion or resolution on that. And the other was the spacing of the trees themselves, whether they should be 15 feet or 20 feet. 20 feet is what was proposed.
no, I'm a little lost too before, I know John's gonna say something. But if we approve the mitigation plan, which is going forward, which I have no problem with, how can we do that without approving this new eureka of a site plan for grades?
We have to
Why
add
don't
that
we
to
have
the
language,
discussion.
we have to put language in, don't we?
Should be a separate.
Yeah, I think we can make a
You're gonna have to
condition
do
about
that
it
as
to do
well,
that.
but you can do it separately.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. So
I'm just pointing out that the way it's written right now, it only addresses one of the two things you'll have to deal with
Yeah.
respect
So
to
somewhere else in
plans
this,
of
we're gonna-
record.
we're gonna address the grading.
Right,
We're gonna
and we just want to make sure that the mitigation plan does include the ability of them to plant in the buffer. So
So,
just call it out.
could we add on to the end of that, in addition,
Ask that of Brian, can we add that on?
can we just add an in addition to the end to allow the plantings and some verbiage that I'll about,
Okay,
I mean, I would just add it right after site grading, soil stabilization, comma, and plantings,
there you go.
and maple and grindstones, which is language that's been in there all along, outside of the resource areas.
If they'll do it.
and plantings as described in the plan, or just?
Yeah, 85 plantings, can we be specific?
Yeah,
Thank you.
more specific, it felt better.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Is that actually the number?
Well, that's what we've been told. I don't think you want to do the 85, right? It could be 90.
Exactly, I was just guessing, it's not the real number.
And the plantings that are supposed to address the issue in the mitigation plan in the buffer zone. That's,
As plantings, and plantings as described in the mitigation plan.
yes.
So are you okay with the spacing of the plantings that were described in the mitigation plan and the size? Is that
Well,
part of it?
I would defer to both you and Rachel and Damon on that. I mean, what do you think? Right?
Yeah, I think the mitigation plan plantings, I'm okay with, at the smaller caliber as described by Tim, because they're not acting as a site buffer, and they're not supposed to.
Right.
My concern with them initially was I thought they were also supposed to be screening, and they're not, they're replacement trees. And as long as they're healthy, they go in and they stay alive, I'm okay with it. And if they need to plant a few more, that's okay with me.
Yes, so.
That didn't
That's
ride a
fine.
motorcycle.
Rachel?
I concur. I agree with you.
Martha? Seriously? Are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, Anne made a, she made a case for the physical caliber that she was proposing, so.
And the spacing?
and-
In this location, I think that you're okay with it?
Yeah, I thought she had actually come back and suggested 15. Do you guys remember, actually, did Anne suggest changing the spacing to 15?
No, it's gonna be rather subjective, whether it's 15 or 20, I mean, in an optimal world, every tree is gonna live and survive, but I think it's, depending on site conditions, that's tough soil, and you don't wanna over-amend the soil hole because it actually can be detrimental to the plant. I would recommend, some of them are gonna be 15, some will be 20, some will be 25, just because of, when you're gonna start digging, you're gonna hit ledge, you might have to slide left to right. I think it's best to just be a little allow us to use a little discretion in the field. 15 would be minimum, 20, just have useful on the sense.
Yeah, I don't want you hammering ledge to plant a tree.
No, and we're not going to. It wouldn't be good for the tree, and it wouldn't be good, so we're gonna do what's in the best interest of this file.
Okay,
So,
So,
I'm comfortable with that.
All right. Any other comments from board members on number 1?
Jeff, are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with that?
do we want to amend it?
Well, we are amending it to, it's now April 30th, and we, after stabilization, we're saying, and plantings,
As described.
as described in the mitigation plan.
Okay.
And that's what right now, that's what we think we would approve. Right? We're not gonna vote on this yet.
Yep, not voted, but I just wanted, go
What
ahead.
is the calendar that's been set for the first testing?
2 to 2.5.
2 and a half?
No.
No, just the calendar.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was what was described.
But our tree guy says that's fine.
He was thinking originally larger would be better, but I think Anne made a strong case for the small ones.
Because they'll take, their roots will get better and come from.
And they catch up?
Yeah, smaller trees,
They do,
they have less shock.
Catch up.
they do.
So number 2, no other work, site preparations, alterations, or other activities except those specifically identified above are approved.
grading.
Yeah,
This might be too much.
it may be, I mean, we don't have to include it, it's just there as a,
Talk about what we're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So where do you wanna put the, excuse me, John, where do you wanna put the grading in here?
Grading condition?
Yeah,
You can put it anywhere. I mean, this is just sort of thought out in terms of touch.
Actually, it fits
Not
pretty well in
necessarily
3, because you're referencing the plan.
Call it the new two.
okay.
any other comments?
Doug's all happy with everything, Martha, right now?
I haven't spoken to him recently, but I think he was on board with getting the wetlands plantings in.
Okay.
Okay, no other comments? Number 3, the provisionally approved work shall strictly conform to the submitted plans of record. It's not,
This is where we're gonna put the 4-foot grading in?
we just said it's, there's no deviation from the plans.
Just reference that.
This is very much like a pro forma kind of condition. It's not, we almost have this in everything.
Should there be conditions specifically?
Grading, I thought we had.
Yeah, I think
We
we
were just
will
talking
add
about
a-
plugging it in between 2, 3,
Yeah,
or
that was two.
somewhere in the
Yeah,
beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
we should
we could-
continue grading.
What verbiage do we want?
If we, July 7, or excuse me, June 7, 17 grading plan as revised most recently on July 25th, 2018. Again, it's conditionally approved, subject to within.
Okay.
That's gonna be 2A? Okay.
Once, if this gets to the point where the board does vote and approve it, this will all be rewritten to a final decision. You'll approve it verbally tonight, subject to all the, changes that we made and discussed and approved this evening, but then it'll be rewritten. So the numbers are just for reference, they're not
Okay.
substantive. They're just so we can all talk about the same thing at the
All
same
right,
time.
I just don't wanna forget it.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
So without further discussion, I'll go on to 4. The applicant shall submit a full and complete landscaping plan addressing the entire site except the areas, and Martha, do you have a chance to get a plan with circles on it that are labeled for me?
They're not labeled.
Okay. Except for the areas of the Carbones, the Hanlons, and as regard the Cunningham property, no later than August 23rd, 2018, by the close of business, 4 p.m., i.e. 3 business days before the board's August 29th, 2018 meeting. Just to explain this for a second, this is a full and finalized landscaping plan, allowing us to continue to modify for the sightlines that we're most concerned about, which are the 3 abutting neighbors. So we want to finalize a plan that we're going to work from, and with them having full knowledge that we continue to desire to address the sightline issues for the neighbors.
Okay, so does that marry with his schedule that they gave us? That date, August 29th?
Or should we just ask, is this feasible?
Well, I think any of the dates here are still subject to things going correctly, but what, Neil?
Yeah.
What's this gonna do when we get the completed landscape plan and we start to get out there, let's say, and establish the balloons and get the heights and everything else? You're not gonna be able to have any of the planting stock ordered to go in this fall.
No, we'll see what's available. I'll do a little survey, but those are gonna be more traditional landscape trees.
So those would be, once this is all done, we'd have to go back and.
You might be able to, a lot of those should be evergreens, I would imagine.
So you're gonna be able to get those in the spring?
Those are a little easier in the fall, yeah, they're not as big of a fall as would be. Generally, evergreens will be rather plentiful, and depending on size, again, things of that nature. But, what happens is a lot of those native plants, particularly maple species, in the Newbury, you don't wanna dig them in the fall, those are the hazards.
Well, I was just thinking that really, since we've been talking about 3 separate landscape plans, this one really includes the original plan plus the buffer plan to be incorporated as one. And then in the future, we will incorporate the plans for the Carbonis and the abutters, and then it will be the final landscape plan. Is that what everybody thinks? That's what it seems like to me,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Just-
Okay, any other comments?
I just want to make sure. So you're taking those two and just,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to,
That's going to come up on the next
Wanna
page, so
name that,
that's going to
Ken?
come up here.
Do you want to name it?
Okay.
no problem.
All right, number 5, the applicant shall simultaneously, meaning as of August 23rd, submit a full and complete operation and maintenance plan detailing with specificity how the applicant will maintain the landscaping, plantings, and features proposed in the landscaping plan to achieve appropriate stabilization and survivability for no less than 2 years. Comments from members?
Maybe it's a question for Eric. Are you gonna get this from Ann?
I think it's already submitted.
Yeah,
It's already submitted.
It's already in that plan.
Okay.
I'll review it.
But it's in the plan.
Yeah.
Some
I'll
of
go back
this
and reread it.
is just redundancy to lay it out, so it's clear to everyone what's going on.
It was my understanding that we had an O&M plan that wasn't quite as complete as the O&M plans that we normally get. So I think that is something, Eric, that you need to sit down with some folks.
Quite
and talk
frankly,
about.
John, that's a separate issue. The O&M plan for the subdivision is what Doug was talking about. The O&M plan referenced in here was done by Ann Martin. Leave the condition
that's
this
one I
way,
hadn't
we're
seen.
fine, we'll just point that out, it's already in there,
Fine.
it's already seen.
Fine.
Is that the book that you submitted?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
I'll go home and reread it.
Any further questions on 5? 6, the applicant shall simultaneously submit a full and complete site plan in accordance with all requirements of zoning bylaw. Any comments?
So continuing along, this is also simultaneously, in other words, due by August 23rd. The applicant shall simultaneously submit a full and complete schedule of work detailing with specificity the time and sequencing of all landscaping, planting, related features, etc. Now we have in here, but not including, and we're not sure really what we should include here, but it seems to me that this is landscape, it would include landscaping, planting, drainage, and you're doing irrigation, aren't you?
Just small irrigation.
And probably irrigation. So it's meant to, be able to get the process going. Now this is, however, just the schedule. Now we have a schedule that's before us, which is for the whole project. This is like a subset of it.
So I think, John,
A more specific landscape schedule, I think that's what we're
John,
asking.
are you looking for like something similar to this?
Similar to this, but I think this,
landscaping?
yes, just on landscaping.
I think that'd
Or
help.
landscaping and site prep.
Maybe you
I'd
could
rather,
put that into.
I'd rather keep the discussion as much as we can in the board and then come back to you
All right, I
guys.
just didn't know whether you want to do the points while we're specifically on them, because make it easier.
I think I'd just rather have it be the board right now and then we'll come
Okay.
back.
All right?
Because we have plenty of time to hit each one individually
Okay.
again.
Okay, so any comments on this number 7, aside from Alicia's?
No, I'd like to see Ian's, I'd like to see this done by a professional.
Would like to see the schedule,
Yeah,
by a list, yeah, okay.
yeah.
And I think the irrigation plan should be a part of that. Seeing no further comment, the schedule of work shall contemplate completion of all landscaping and grading by no later than October 1st, 2018. So,
What's contemplating in this case?
Brian, what does contemplate mean?
It'll be done. Contemplate completion. The schedule of work that'll be submitted and proposed
Shall show completion.
shall show completion date of October 1. So that's the finish line for this limited bracket of work.
okay. And I
We
think,
want them to propose and meet, so that's the deadline that we're working back from.
So, and they, their schedule may be ahead of this, but that's fine. And I think in order for this to get done, we also do have to approve a grading plan. So we'll have to have that condition.
So this is like a drop dead date.
Yeah,
A little bit.
in a way.
Any further questions?
Okay, number 9, the applicant shall submit a full and complete landscape plan addressing the remaining areas of the site, meaning for the Carbonis, Hanlon, and Cunningham, no later than September 6th, 2018, 3 business days before the board's September 11th, 2018 meeting. So that's to address the concerns of the neighbors. And
Now-
have it done in timely fashion.
Now, that includes lighting, right? We're gonna be floating the balloons.
Well, I don't think it does, not yet. But
So-
you raised a great point. We've been so focused on addressing these issues and the concerns and the problems that Eric has had, that we haven't gotten to that again. So we need to do that.
So here's my concern. If we turf that until we come over this hump, this is the time that any of those lighting concerns need to be addressed with the mitigation and the landscape plan. So as much as distasteful as it is, I think we need to address it now. And at least have some work done so that we can go out there and we can see how it's gonna sightlines from these abutting properties, so that we can.
The
approve
limit is
final-
September 6th is 3 weeks away.
Yeah. So,
Well, maybe not September 6th, but maybe by October 1st.
Oh, yeah, I definitely by then. But,
But I
so
wanna
maybe,
see-
I think we need a separate item on the lighting.
Yeah.
So we need something
Okay,
on the
so we'll put
condition
that
that
on
we have to,
Pause. for now.
when had you thought about
Yeah, and also,
dealing with the lighting?
We can have an intervening meeting between this date and that. So you can accomplish a great deal today in the conversation, including your condition, but you're also gonna have more information in front of you hopefully at the next meeting, and you can continue that. So you need to make an amendment to some of this, you're gonna have a chance to do that.
yeah, having a submitted plan gives us the building blocks to work from as far as any mitigation that has to be done for lighting.
Okay.
Until we have that plan,
Okay, I'm good with that.
we're kind of
September 11th, we meet.
in the dark.
And then
as
we'll
it
have
were.
their landscape plan by the way he's written. And those site areas, those two over there and over there. And then, maybe we can schedule a site walk after
Yep.
September 11th meeting with the balloons. I'm happy with that.
Now, I will ask, okay, is that okay with you, Eric, to do something like that?
I don't,
On lighting?
well, so just, I think the dates are backwards. I think we have to have the site walk before the September 11th meeting, if we have to give you the Carboni, Hanlon, and Cunningham plan at the September 11th meeting. So I believe the site walk would have to be between the 29th and the 11th, leaving enough time that we could then go. So I think to answer your question about lighting, and the reason I'm touching all of these is, we have the August 29th meeting. We have the site walk as soon after that as possible. At the site walk, we address Cunningham, Hanlon, Carboni, and we put up the balloons. So that between then and the 11th, because otherwise it's backwards. We can't present the plan on the 11th and then do the site walk after,
Okay.
okay?
And it's not as big a deal now because the grades are pretty,
Grades
Yeah,
will be
it's not
done,
like
right?
it was.
We're close.
It would have been a real problem before and now
They'll
it's
be done
not.
by then.
Yeah, last weekend would have been brutal, but between the 29th and the 11th, it should be fine, other than it, it's Labor Day weekend and
Is this, Neil, is this seed, this isn't gonna be finished seeding that late in the year, is it? You're gonna be trying to lay in real,
I'm not trying to lay in, yeah.
good, because you're gonna be right nipping into some heavy frost when that comes up.
Yeah, I got a superintendent working with me, we're trying to get that
Yeah.
landing area seeded correctly.
Any other comments on this? Okay.
10, okay.
The applicant shall, upon approval of the landscaping plan, provide a cash bond in the amount deemed sufficient by the board to cover the cost of replacing failed plantings so that no less than 90% of those plantings survive at least 2 years. I know that it was Ann's intention that the plantings all survive, but as many of us know,
They just laid plans.
intentions don't always get you there.
Well, we've done this in other projects where we've requested these things. I think that's reasonable.
Yes.
Any other comments on that? Number 11, the applicant shall arrange for, fund, and schedule no less than 3 on-site meetings, inspections per week with the town's consulting engineer from today forward and while the provisionally approved work is undertaken. Okay. Nobody? Okay.
12, the applicant shall engage a licensed site professional, and you had another piece of language.
As project manager.
As project manager, who shall, at a minimum, be charged with overseeing and monitoring all of the above activities, and who shall communicate with and meet with town's consulting engineer.
The board may elect not to proceed with any other aspect of the pending applications until the above has been completed to the board's satisfaction.
Okay. The applicant shall provide suitable and appropriate dust control measures and erosion and sediment control as conditions dictate at all times until the site is landscaped and stabilized. Such measures shall be consistent with accepted industry practices, local and state regulations, and with the recommendations made by SWIP reports, made in the SWIP reports.
Didn't we already have this one? Is that real?
We discussed it, but not, this is formalizing.
Okay.
What are these came from? You know, my notes from your last meeting,
Yeah.
and from reviewing the previous meetings, and they were part of conversations, they were part of sort of verbal understandings, etc. But they've never been reduced to conditions. So just going to what we talked about a little bit earlier, this isn't written in stone. The board still retains power to modify these if circumstances dictate, but now they're written.
Right.
So it's moving,
I mean,
it's
it's clear
evolving.
that progress
which you
has
have
been made
one
along
step
these lines.
forward.
The Carbonis have indicated that things are better, but we want to make sure that they're slacking.
Okay.
Number 15, the board encourages the applicant to communicate regularly and substantively with the agents of the town to ensure that the above submissions are as likely as possible to be acceptable to the board when filed.
That's a good one.
Should any of the above conditions not be met and or not be timely met, the board may revoke these provisional approvals, and if it does, the applicant shall cease from conducting any provisional approved activities at the site and shall forthwith stabilize the site as is and install or deploy appropriate stormwater and erosion control measures suitable for the fall, winter, and spring seasons. Furthermore, should any of the above conditions not be met and or not be timely met, the board encourages the appropriate agents of the town to undertake enforcement as may be appropriate and necessary to ensure that the site is stabilized and the town's and the public interest is protected from any harms that are or may be caused by the site in its conditions at that time.
I'm very happy with that. Because that protects us from, God forbid, something else happens and something, because, again, you guys have plans. This says, we're gonna stop everything, we're gonna stabilize it, we're gonna put the whole thing on hold until the spring, and we can work on it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Till whenever. And then I think the one thing we may want to add, which we've kind of done, is in 2A is the approval of the site plan and grading.
And the
work.
grading,
Grading.
Brian, did you take language for that so that you're going to adjust all these anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But when the board votes, we need to know what the board is voting though, so I mean, we at least have to have sufficient language for that. So I mean, I've just written down for 2A, again, subject to the below conditions, to approve the grading plan, dated and most recently revised, for the purposes set forth in paragraph.
So Brian, is it your sense that we would not vote on that tonight?
Oh, no, that you would.
Okay.
Just that when I go back and,
Okay.
we go back
We'll
and write
vote on it,
this,
then you're gonna,
the language will
clean
be
it up
much more
and-
perfect, but obviously, everyone needs to know what the board approved and didn't approve
okay,
tonight.
all right.
And so I think within that, 2A, we are looking to have the grading plan approved, allow the work towards the grading to go forward, which would include extending out to the rest of the site where the berm by the Hamlins is, so that all of that grading can be done, stormwater management can be done.
Mhm.
But there are other things that we needed to make sure we specified in the
Well,
grading plan.
it was, I think irrigation and drainage to the extent necessary. So we wanted to make sure they got that, because that was an ask of theirs. The other thing we want to make sure is that they got planting in the plus or minus 85 trees, planting in the buffer zone.
Yeah.
And make sure that those are.
Mitigation plan.
And the mitigation plan.
So are there any further questions before we allow for some input?
Should we put as a condition the sidewalk that needs to take place between the 29th and September? Should we make that a condition, or do we let that slip?
Schedule it.
No, I think
No,
we
we
should.
can't schedule it, but we can.
I think we need to hear, I'd like to hear from the applicant, and then we'll digest that, and then we'll put a schedule together of site walks and subsequent meetings.
And in the 2A, I think, condition that the fire chief review the plan should be in there as well.
The modification of
The
To
driveway.
the driveway.
Modification,
The driveway.
because that's part of the site, the grading plan that we need to finish.
It's not a modification to the driveway. I just want to be, I think you just said that. It's just approve the driveway, it's the original driveway.
I thought it was a
I thought we had modified it to
From 150
go
to
around
90.
this rock.
modified.
All around the rock.
The original driveway,
Okay.
what has been modified to go around the rock.
Just not to do with the grading change.
Right.
Okay.
No, but it's part of the
Two
grading,
separate
it's part of the
issues.
grading plan now,
On the plan, okay, got ya.
so that's why I want his sign. So if the boards are happy, I'd like to hear from you guys now.
So everything on page 2. So number 7, detail with specificity the timing and sequencing of all landscaping, plantings, etc. Should it read all previously conditioned? So it's really only the things in conditions 1 through 6 above. And obviously it can't be the conditions in 9, and it can't be the finished landscaping, because that's gonna come after the buildings are built and the
No, that's
parking
fine.
lot's in.
You got it?
Okay. The very same comment in 8, it's not that completion, contemplate the complete construction schedule of all landscaping and grading, because some of those things are coming later. So it's the word all in 7 and 8.
You want to replace all with previously approved, right?
Previously conditioned, whatever, or set out in conditions 1 through, yeah.
I understand.
In 9, I think that there should be either a 9A or an 8B, or something above before 9, which is, the applicant shall schedule a site walk with the joint boards, and immediately thereafter shall perform condition number 9, so that we move a site walk somewhere in there beforehand. And then you could even note that the September 6th and 11th dates are subject to change if the site walk can't be scheduled.
That's an assumption that your grading will have been done so that we can do the sidewalk.
Absolutely.
And that's fine with us. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I think you have that covered by the last condition.
That's right.
If we're not on time, we're not on time.
That's right.
Black and white. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Okay. In 10, 2 questions. Curious about an idea of what you're looking for a bond, and why something other than a cash bond wouldn't be acceptable.
It's very rare, I've never seen that personally. Usually it's either he takes ownership of the plant, and if it dies, he replaces it. I've never heard, it's private property ultimately, even though we don't want these to die, it's gonna enhance his landscape, so he would be on the hook if tree died, he'd replace it.
If he's here.
No,
We
yeah,
need a persistent condition that
so-
we can enforce no matter who is in control of the
yeah,
site,
but
so
I mean,
that's the purpose
he's
of
got a line of credit from the
security.
bank, if he got a letter of credit from the bank, would it have to be a cash bond?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a cash bond.
So
Obviously,
we
I
take
prefer
out
a cash
cash.
bond, but if it's a tripartite, a lender's agreement, or something
Something
that
like that.
provides us security that we can access, fine.
And
There's already a bond on here for the site itself.
Right, this is above and beyond for these new plants.
And do we have an idea of the amount, the magnitude?
I don't think
We haven't
have
done
that
that
information yet.
Haven't worked on that yet,
Yeah.
but I think it's reasonable that we work it out with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'd look at the cost of the trees,
Yep.
the cost of doing a planting, and then figure out.
Our concern is the plan for the Carbonis and for the abutters.
So you're
Once we see
Okay.
that plan,
yeah,
then we can come up with a bond, or whatever it is.
An amount,
An amount,
right?
okay.
okay?
And then on 11, understanding the reason this condition is in here. But at the same time, we don't want a third-party consultant to think, well, he's bound to have me there 3 days a week and I can charge what I want to charge. Can we, in the absence of a violation, can we have some understanding, like can we do no more than 2 hours a week, like an hour Tuesday, an hour Thursday? And then have it be that if there is a violation, then it can go up to a greater amount. Just trying to, we have a lot of overages on the project because of what happened, trying to be cognizant of what the budget is, and kind of manage that, but at the same time, give this board comfort level that we don't mind having that person out there, but we just want to have some parameters on them. Again, in the absence of a violation, because you have paragraph 16.
Right. Our concern has been, for the past month to 2 or maybe 3 months, that steps had not been taken to adequately address schedule, compliance, a whole series of things. And we have done, on the one hand, we should not be the policeman to solve the problem.
Agreed.
On the other hand, until we have a better understanding of your new project manager, I think that we need to begin to say this.
I was just going to say the
Okay.
same thing. Could we agree to revisit it on the 29th?
Yeah, let me just, hold on.
Yeah.
Martha, what do you think?
I think it could be revisited.
Okay.
I
So
think
we'll
in the
see how
last
it
2
goes.
weeks, you've seen some significant improvement
Yeah,
out
there
there.
has been. So
okay.
we can take a look at it again on the 29th,
Okay.
all right?
And I think, John, that certainly having someone there a certain amount of time is only gonna be in certain weeks, maybe August through the 17th, because the rest is gonna be building inspector and stuff like this when the buildings start.
Yeah.
So,
See, until I have a really better understanding of how this thing comes together, I don't have a good sense for that. No, I really don't.
I don't either.
Most projects I can understand, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, but here, because we're doing so much catch-up.
We're going to be in on the 29th.
Yeah, so let's.
We do good work the next 2 weeks. When we're on the 29th, I'm going to ask you to reduce the number of visits
Okay.
based on a new schedule.
Yep.
We're back in on the 11th. If we're doing good work,
That's
great.
fair.
If we're not doing good work, okay.
That's fair.
So maybe
Well,
this is just an item.
and like I said, I think certainly with the grading, the seating, and the planning, and all the other things, that, when we start to hit the building part of it,
It's different.
that's a
Yeah.
different.
So we would, Brian, we would make this change for the next 2 weeks.
I don't think you need to change that.
You don't need to?
Anything's subject to the board's review at the next
No,
meeting.
I'm
Okay.
okay with that. In
Yeah.
2
All right.
weeks,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I believe town council and myself will remember in 2 weeks that we're just going to revisit
All
this
right.
condition.
No
And
doubt about it.
yeah.
Were there any other,
No, that's it.
okay.
All right.
So, I think this point, I think we're gonna ask you to formally draft these.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had for you at this point is, in order for them to continue with the work that we want them to be doing at this point, how do we phrase that so that it is legally right, so that they can work from the April 30th mitigation plan and the revised grading plan on July 25th?
I think what we have to do is approve the conditions.
we're
Conditions
getting into these
as agreed upon by the board
Just-
this evening.
Okay.
So we have,
Once we do that,
That's
they're
all-
free, they're
that's
free to
all
go
in-
ahead and
Okay,
start.
I just wanted to make sure that
I think they are.
they do that.
It's easy
we
to
do
get
that.
confused.
and we have, a written record of what those conditions and the modifications are now, so that exists,
Right.
it just needs to be actually typed up. But if the board both boards vote to approve it, subject to those revisions as agreed upon by the board, I think that's sufficient for you to get to work tomorrow.
Yeah, you want us to keep going, we gotta get this stuff stabilized, and it's all on videotape.
I'm confused in my mind about the timeline. Can we talk about that one more time? Looking at what he said and what this said, and getting dates in the calendars.
And I also, if we're gonna have a schedule a site walk, I think you do need to consult with the Carbonis as well, as you're laying out your timeline.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just so much back and forth. So,
Well,
according to, yeah,
Our next scheduled meeting to discuss this is on August 29th at the planning board meeting.
okay,
What Mr. Rosen had suggested is that we plan a site walk shortly thereafter, so that they can prepare for the September 11th meeting and have another plan for us.
okay, so we don't have to do anything until, except be here on the 29th.
Right,
Okay,
they have to do everything.
okay. So then we need to have, and then on the 29th, we're gonna schedule this site walk, the next site walk?
Mhm.
We
Oh,
may
do you-
wanna,
Do you wanna schedule it?
Oh, that's
On
what
the
I'm
front
thinking.
meeting,
That's
schedule-
what I'm lacking. We're running daylight.
No. You're not scheduling it for the 29th, you're saying you wanna discuss on the 29th when you're gonna
Well,
schedule it
that's my
for.
question.
Or do we wanna pick a date now?
Should we
is
pick
my
a date
question.
now?
I-
Revise it
That's-
if necessary.
And we can
Yes.
revise it on the 29th.
I
That's-
agree.
So that's my thought. How do you guys feel about that?
First 2 weekends in September don't work for us,
Yeah, we're not around,
Okay.
or one's Labor Day weekend, so.
Yeah.
yeah, and then following weekend,
We have family
we
weddings.
have family wedding.
How does that sound?
No, I can't make anything.
We'll do some day other than a weekend.
Well,
Wanna
what
do
a
it
weekday,
five-
yeah.
Yeah, we could do a weekday at
I was
like 5
gonna-
o'clock.
Yeah, and I was also gonna ask, if we can't get everybody out there one day, is it possible to have one member of the Board of Selectmen, one member of the Planning Board, and the Carbonis, so that they can, we want their input. Because I don't wanna be back there in October arguing that we didn't do the right thing. So if we can't get a site visit that they can attend, then I would like to accommodate like a private viewing for that.
When can you guys make it?
There's not those 2
Just
weekends.
on those 2 weekends.
But during the week you could do it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do it, yes, but the weekends are tough. Specifically for 29th would be 11th.
That does sound great.
yeah, do we have, what about the first Tuesday,
Hmm.
The 4th.
the 4th, at 5 o'clock? I'm not hearing any resounding no's.
Oh, I'm just checking my calendar, just checking my calendar.
Yeah.
We actually go back to
can't think
school
about
that
it.
day for 5 o'clock, we have 5 o'clock. Does that work for you guys?
6 o'clock?
Is 6 o'clock okay?
We should still have,
6 is fine.
Is it getting, yeah, what time is, yeah.
It's early
I have to
September.
look at
It's
that.
early September, you're probably good
That,
until about
that site,
7.
that site meeting is going to set the balloons and everything in place?
We haven't got that far yet.
So that's what I'm saying, it
If you're
sounds,
gonna do that in 2 hours, you guys are pretty good.
Yeah, that's not good.
sounds premature.
So this sidewalk is only to look at the grading.
I thought the theory was to do it all at once, but. Yeah, but, okay, you can set the balloons, the question is, if everyone doesn't get there until between 5:30 and 6, is it gonna be enough time if we did the full meeting that night? And the answer is probably no.
Once it's-
So So we're talking, right now it's
You could
September.
do a private
August,
showing.
Right now it's
I'd
August.
rather be together.
Yeah, that would be
I'd
together.
rather be all together. I don't want a
Okay.
private showing.
Okay.
Everything great.
What's enough time?
You think it's enough time? Okay.
We're bringing extra machines this week. It's enough time.
So you hope to start landscaping on September 3rd?
We'll have the grades.
That's gonna be,
That's
I don't know
late.
about landscaping,
Yeah.
but we'll have the grades by
yeah, I think
September, by September
planting the
4th.
mitigation trees, that's different than landscape.
Right, we'll have the grades for that September 4th meeting.
Let's schedule it for 5, if you can get there on
Yeah, I'll
time.
get there at 5.
And if you can't, you
I'll
can join us later.
I'll get there at 5.
What date?
What day do you have now?
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
The
September.
4th?
The 4th,
September 4th.
What time?
5 o'clock.
So you want the balloons?
Yeah.
On the grades.
And if on the 29th, things, have gone wrong and you can't, we'll reschedule. But that's the current plan. So that's that
And then we meet after that,
on September 11th.
September 11th, that's at our meeting.
Yep.
So I think the only thing I would say is if we have the meeting on the evening of the 4th, we may be cutting it close to have submissions to you by the 6th for a meeting on the 11th, which is your condition number 9.
Yep,
This is why I
because
wanna
6th
look at a
is a
calendar.
Thursday.
Right, so it's gonna,
Should we, instead of meeting on the 11th, switch to your next meeting? To give them time to prepare?
11th, well, 11th is our next meeting, but we have scheduled, we have a public hearing that night?
No, you're looking at our second meeting, and what would be our second meeting in September the 19th?
19th.
Thought Doug,
what if we submit the materials like
down-
on the
it's the
7th
11th, isn't it?
instead of the 6th and just get an extra day?
We're not open on Fridays.
Martha, what are we doing downfall?
That's
11th?
29th.
29th. What do we have scheduled on the 11th? Just this?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday, and we canceled the 5th.
Right, that's right.
can I ask a question? I'm a little lost on, with the way this sets up now, and I don't mean to minimize things, but how much grading differences is there going to be with what's there now and what you intend to do there?
What, the whole site or the landing?
No, for where you're gonna put the balloons.
It's pretty close right now.
Well, I obviously think it's pretty close between 78 and 76, or I wouldn't be asking the question, but I wanna know how much difference.
Let me answer the question a little differently. I don't remember where you asked for the balloons, but let me try. The balloons for the lights going in the tree line, so the grades are not changing at all.
That's what
Okay.
my
Yep.
thinking is.
I think you wanted the pro shop roof line.
Yep.
Those grades are within 1 or 2 feet right now, so they're pretty close.
Which you could take into effect with the balloon.
Which we can, the balloon will be at the right height. The grade on the ground might be a foot or 2 from final grade, but the balloon will be at the ridge line. What else did you ask for in the balloon?
I think those were the things, the peaks of the building and the lights, essentially closest to the Hanlons and
Yeah,
closest
north,
to
north and, the lights, north and western edges.
So,
Although when we were here last time, Mrs. Cunningham indicated she was concerned, so maybe we'd like to see them down there too on the southern edge. But I hadn't heard any issues from her head, was it? Am I right? But she did voice it last time.
so let me suggest this. Again, the lighting on the edge of the tree lines, those grades haven't changed.
Yep.
You can just, whatever the height is of a light bulb, that's the
Because
distance.
if that's the case, then maybe we could work in a weekend where we have more time to do this right.
In the other locations where the buildings are, I can just set a grade elevation for Eric, and he'll know, I'm specking these out, this is 70 right here, I'm just making these numbers up, and the roof line is 84. If I set a grade there that says 70, he's got to put a balloon up 40
Right.
feet.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's another concern I have with the light, and I'm hoping this can be addressed. Where he has a generator now on site, is it possible to take a pole like they do and just put a light up there so that we can actually stand in the Carboni's yard and look and see if you can see through the trees, the light?
Well, right now you'll be able to see the light because there's no landscaping to try to buffer it. There's no doubt in my mind you'll be able to see it.
Okay,
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, John, you're going to see the light.
We're gonna see the light.
But you're not gonna see light trespass. You'll see the cone coming down onto the golf course, but you're not going to have light trespass on our property.
No glow?
No glow?
No.
See, we need to see that. You have to understand from our perspective.
If you got rid of the lights, this would all be a lot easier.
I'm trying to clarify what
Wish I could.
fixtures
Good.
would be seen.
Yes.
In the previously submitted light trespass plan clearly showed no light trespass for a significant distance from the property line to where the light actually is being hitting the ground. I don't remember what that distance is. I didn't bring those plans tonight either, but it's a significant distance from all of the abutters over there. But I don't want people to get out there on the sidewalk and say, oh my goodness, you can see this fixture. You're gonna see that fixture. You're gonna see some of these fixtures. Absolutely, we'll see those fixtures. So that's why you wanted them painted black, so that they would blend in. But that cone of influence or light trespass is nowhere near their property, and these guys down over here, they don't have the hall lights like they have in Fairlawn.
But we're still gonna see that cone of light. We're still, you know, it may not trespass,
So,
but if you're at my kitchen window, and if those trees are not the height that they were, we are going to see that cone, as well as Janine, as well as as well as the Hamlins.
I am not debating that with you right now. That's what we're gonna try to take care of for you when we go on that sidewalk. That's why they want the balloons floated
And
up there.
I think that's why Alicia
So,
wanted that
That's
there,
right,
so we
I'm
can
not,
see
I'm not
that.
arguing that fact. I'm just arguing, when you go out there, you'll be able to see the fixtures.
So Rick's point is this, if you go out during the day, and from your room, you can see the red balloon, that's how we know where we want to put the trees.
Yeah.
If you put up a light with the light on, it's not going to be any different if you put that on at night than if you go outside and you see a balloon during the day. Your,
Wait, why wouldn't it?
because the way the fixtures are designed, they shoot the light down.
But there is still, as
Light
John
coming.
brought up at the beginning, way back last year, your elevation is higher than our house. And now you're putting these light poles in the air. I understand it's not gonna trespass onto our property.
But when
I
you see
understand that
cone-
with a balloon, you'll be able to tell where the fixture actually is. But the actual, like, preventing of us seeing light from your property is, like, to tell me that I'm not gonna see the light is crazy. We're going to see the light. It is going to light up your property area. That's just part of the lighting being approved as part of this project.
And that has
I
been
think
the
what
issue all
Alicia is
along.
asking about is understanding exactly what that light looks like. You can tell us till you're blue in the face whether it trespasses or it doesn't, or you're gonna see the glow or you're not. Until you actually physically see the light on the property itself, it's hard to understand what that's gonna look like.
And you have to understand from your
You
budget.
guys, if I could ask you to, I understand the contention here. What I want to do is get a visual. I will be able to imagine what those lights look like because I have seen them before. This is not the finish, the end of this discussion.
Okay.
So once the lights are installed and they're up, we can continue to address this. We are not, this is not the end of the
And
discussion.
that's why
Okay.
Damon's right. I mean, there was never the illusion that no matter what, we were gonna shield all the light, because it would be impossible, like you said. And that's where, how much money do we have extra to go back and fine tune this lighting?
Is it $10,000?
10 grand.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get the major part up, the very best, trust me, that we can get. And then that 10 grand is gonna kind of hopefully take care of the rest.
But Jeff,
When it goes up.
what worries me and concerns me now is I was comfortable with that when I voted this project in, but when those additional trees were cut down, now that changes things.
But Alicia, what I'm saying is,
No, I understand what you're saying, and I'm good with that.
okay,
I am good with that. But I just, that's,
You're not gonna know until they finally go up.
well, as long as we can.
But Alicia's thought, I'm sorry for interrupting, of getting a generator out there and getting a light 60 feet up in the air is not a bad idea.
Well, you can put lights on the balloons for better for worse.
What color balloons are we gonna use? I want hot pink.
Well, you said red last time.
No, I don't want red balloons. I want,
yeah.
the rest of the pink.
So I'm gonna ask my board for a vote on these conditions. If someone would make a motion and then second it.
Now, I'm gonna have trouble doing that because I trust town council totally, but we're gonna vote on the presumption that the town council's gonna write them up the way we said.
Yep.
Yes.
So as amended during the meeting.
As amended, not safe.
All right, but how do we know that, when do we get to look at this again, next meeting?
Next meeting.
Okay, but the presumption of what we're gonna vote on now allows him to order his trees and continue doing what he's doing, which is fine with me.
Right.
All right,
Should I get a motion?
motion.
Did we figure out what we're gonna do about the schedule? We're all set with that?
About
We're
what?
good? Yeah.
Let's finish this and then get back to the sidewalk.
Don't we have to put?
Part of one of the conditions.
Okay.
What we had gone back to is, I don't have a calendar in front of me, I don't know how
I got it right
many
here.
days before Labor Day there is.
September
How many
4th
days
at
before?
5 o'clock.
But how many days could we do a meeting like next week? I mean, if Eric could be ready, the grades aren't gonna
I
change.
think the concern was that we can do here, but we need to have plans dropped out to us by the 6th.
Can you go back to August?
No,
So
what the difference is, we're gonna do it at 5 o'clock and it's late at night to do all this stuff. We now have time because the grades aren't gonna be different, we can do it
on Monday the 9th.
we can do it one of the other days in the weekend.
In August, you see?
Yeah, the 25th to the 26th. Are you guys around August 25th?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if Eric can have the balloons and.
Do you think that would be a reasonable?
Will the grading be done and we can have balloons by August 25th?
It's not grading, Alicia, it's just getting
Getting the
balloons to the
balloons
right
up.
height.
So that,
Yeah, get the
that's,
balloons on the
you're
25th.
amenable to that?
Yeah, because
But
really
he-
you're looking at,
I can't-
we're out of grades with the buildings.
But, and he's gotta set that grade at the building so the balloon's the right height.
It's already there.
Yeah.
Stake's already there.
John,
Does that work
what do you think?
for you, Chuck?
The 25th, right?
And then you're
25th?
gonna have a
Which is
site
Saturday.
meeting
It's a Saturday.
in the morning.
Was that the Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday the 25th.
Saturday, 25th at
9 o'clock,
Yep.
all right?
Is that okay with you guys?
Mhm.
Yes.
Then we can spend some time.
Yeah, we don't have to rush it and run out of light. I think that was a good suggestion, thank you.
So we're gonna ditch the one on the 4th now?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
We can always reintroduce it if we need it. All right, now could I get a motion?
Does town council have to be there? I don't think so.
No, for that.
So it's a motion to accept the conditions as amended by town council?
As amended during the
By,
meeting.
by,
Town council and the conversation of this meeting?
Yes.
And do you have a question?
Do the conditions have to say anything about the cease and desist, or does this automatically extend the lift and all of the, because I know there's all the various things going.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
jump on that one. So the board doesn't have the power itself to lift a cease and desist order. The cease and desist came from the building commissioner. What they've done now, or what they're about to do, I believe, is approve the modifications and revisions that allow the building commissioner to now modify the cease and desist. So what would have been a violation in the past no longer will be a violation. Thus, the basis for the cease and desist is going to change.
Okay.
And the building commissioner will be in a position to say, you can now do X, Y, and Z because the board has now approved X, Y, and Z, which wasn't true when we got here.
So if they adopt it and issue the conditions, then they need to reach out to the building inspector tomorrow
Correct.
morning he can confirm with you that you're drafting the amended conditions.
And then you'll get another letter, just like this, but it'll be modified to reflect what happened tonight.
Okay.
And that's because the building inspector is the regulatory of the special permit.
That's right.
All right, is there any further discussion from my board on this motion?
Do we get a second?
You
Chuck
didn't have-
seconded
you
it.
did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I would like to get a motion on the conditions that we've just talked about from the planning board. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. I move to amend the planning board's June 26, 2018 vote as follows, subject to changes made on August 14. Items 1 through 16.
Okay, as conditioned, right?
As
All right. All right, it's been voted on, it's put forward and seconded. Any discussion from guys down there? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Okay. See everybody on the
Thank you very much.
23rd,
25th?
25th.
25th at 9
9
a.m.
a.m.
Saturday.
Right
So I
on.
want to make sure the chairman's got the right date on his calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Just testing.
thank you, thank you, thank you very much, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Hold on, don't you want to move to continue the public hearing first?
Yes, you cannot adjourn yet.
So much.
You continue it for both boards, and then you can take a vote to adjourn.
I was just going through my steps when I jumped up. So I'll let you go first and I'll close out.
Yeah, motion to continue the public hearing of the Golf Center program to the 29th of August. Time certain, 7:15. No?
Once we've got the downfall road, that's like what we're doing.
Downfall Road, that'll take at least a half hour, I think. It's gotta be 7:45, don't you think?
This week.
Don't you go about Downfall?
This is going to be a longer.
That could be longer, is issue.
Unless we come up earlier, oh, do we think we have a lot to talk about with this?
We're joining them on the 29th.
I know, but when we meet again on the 29th.
Okay, we meet at 6:45?
I'm just gonna ask, could that board meet earlier?
Sure we could.
But is that going to give you enough time, John? Us enough time?
Well, we can always go through it, and we can always say that we have another public hearing.
Then we have to
and
wait.
We have to wait. So let's set up for 6:45. Is that okay, Jim and,
I'm not going to be here, but
oh, right, that's right, that's right.
And you
Rachel?
You only need 3, right?
Right. Okay, 6:45, okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion and second?
For the meeting time though? Continue the public hearing?
Yeah, proposed to carry forward the public hearing on the Golf Center project to the 29th of August at 6:45 PM.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Passed.
Damon, I move that we,
Hold on. Oh, go ahead.
I move that we continue our public hearing to Wednesday, August 29th at 6:45 PM.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you get all those dates?
Now, would you like a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second? All those in favor? We're done.
Alan, do you have any business?
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank
guys.
you, good night.
While
Motion
dropping
to
by
adjourn.
unexpectedly there
Second.
behind me and dropping off
All
the
those in
file.
favor?